Hi guys. This video is meant to be an explanation on the type of cancer I have and what exactly the doctor said when I had my consultation last week. Essentially I'm going to be reading the pathology report so everyone knows every little bit that I know so far about my breast cancer. And I guess to start off with, it was a pretty scary day. Thought maybe I was going to be going into an office to sit down, kind of like what you see on TV. Instead, I was shown into the same in the same examining room that I was in when I got the biopsy, and just kind of a bundle of nerves. Josie came this time, my mom and Chris, and they were downstairs in the car. They're not allowed to have any family come in because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we FaceTimed while the doctor outlined all of the details. um, they offered me hot tea while I was waiting, which was really nice. But I was just kind of pacing around the room and messing with my hair, jacket on, off, hot. Heart was beating really fast. Just so many thoughts going on in your head as you wait for big news like that. It's not something you want anybody else to ever have to go through. And especially not on their own. Um, so it was nice still to know that my support team was downstairs ready to take notes and record any information because when it's coming at you like that, it's hard to take it all in. My doctor basically drew a picture and wrote down everything there was to know about my cancer, as I mentioned. So I will include that at the end of the video if I can figure it out. I'm not exactly a video wizard. But the other thing I'm going to be reading from is your guide to the breast cancer pathology report. And this was provided to me as part of the giant binder that the doctor gave, detailing like any, contacts you needed, treatment, diagnosis, care team. It's very extensive. But this has been super helpful because the clinical report, like laboratory report, has a lot of technical terms, positive for this, negative for that, percentages, numbers, that kind of thing. So I guess the first thing here is what is it? So it's an invasive ductal carcinoma, and basically if the cancer has grown into normal tissues, it's called invasive. Most breast cancers are invasive, and sometimes cancer cells spread to other parts of the body through the blood or the lymph system. When cancer cells spread to other parts of the body, it's called metastatic breast cancer. And in some cases, breast cancer can be both invasive and non-invasive. So mine is invasive. This particular cancer is a cancer that begins in the milk duct but has grown into the surrounding normal tissue inside the breast. This is the most common kind of breast cancer. So, and all the things they tell you, I guess, and all the worries you have in your head, hearing that was a bit of a relief. Nobody wants to hear that they have an unusual case and it's really hard to treat. So, moving on, they discuss the grade of the cancer, and grade is how different the cancer cells are from normal cells. Experts compare the appearance of the cancer cells to normal breast cells. Based on these comparisons, they give a grade to the cancer. So I have grade 3, which is high, and it means that the cancer cells look very different from normal cells and they are fast growing. So a lot of people have tried to reassure me and say that this happened so quickly that even in routine examinations it may not have been found early or diagnosed early. So then how fast are the cancer cells growing? Your pathology report may include information about the rate of the cell growth, the proportion of cancer cells within the tumor that are growing and dividing to form new cancer cells, A higher percentage suggests a faster growing, more aggressive cancer rather than a slower, less aggressive. And the test that measures that is called Ki-67, and it's a protein in cells that increases as they prepare to divide into new cells. And they did a staining process to measure the percentage of tumor cells that are positive for Ki-67, and basically it'll give you a percentage minus 51%, and so it is high. Next, how big is the cancer? So they measure cancer, it says in centimeters, but my lab report gave me it in millimeters, and right now it is 21 millimeters. And then so a cancer is called ER positive if the receptors for the hormone estrogen, if it has receptors for the hormone estrogen. It's called PR positive if it has receptors for the hormone progesterone. Breast cells that do not have receptors are negative for these hormones. Breast cancers that are ER positive, PR positive, or both tend to respond to hormonal therapy, and hormonal therapy is medicine that reduces the amount of estrogen in your body or that blocks estrogen from the receptors. So from the way I understand it, these receptors are telling the cancer that it's okay to go to those cells and multiply. And unfortunately, I have both the ER and the PR receptors, and they are high, 88% and 93%. And basically it just says hormone receptors are proteins. Like all proteins, their production is controlled by genes. And I think that's led to one of the steps in what we have going on. Next is I had blood drawn that day to do genetic testing to see if there are any other hereditary concerns for cancers that I could be proactive for, or we could be looking at for. And then I guess there's an all-red score, and it's named after the person who developed it, but it's between 0 and 8, and the system looks at what percentage of cells test positive for those hormone receptors, ER and PR, and along with how well the receptors show up after staining. This information is then combined to score the sample on a scale from 0 to 8. The higher the score, the more receptors were found and the easier they were to see in the sample. Now mine was +2 on the ER and +3 on the PR. So it's not an 8 at least. And then I also tested positive for Her2 status. So this gene is responsible for making Her2 proteins, and these proteins are receptors on breast cells. Under normal circumstances, the Her2 receptors help control how a breast cell grows, divides, and repairs itself. But in about 25% of breast cancers, the Her2 gene can become abnormal and make too many copies of itself. Amplified Her2 genes command breast cells to make too many receptors. When this happens, the overexpressed Her2 receptors shout rather than talk to the breast cells to grow and divide in an uncontrolled way. This can lead to the development of breast cancer. Breast cancers that have amplified Her2 genes or that overexpress the Her2 protein are described in the pathology report as being Her2 positive. That was what my report said. They tend to grow faster, more likely to spread, and come back when compared to the Her2 negative breast cancers. The good news is, according to my doctor, 10 years ago, there was no medicine for the Her2, like specifically meant to target the Her2 receptors, and they have come out with something now. It's like an oral medicine, and it essentially like dissolves that part of the cancer. I don't know. I'll look into that and do some more research, but she said that it used to be a very bad diagnosis in the past, and now that they have this medicine, it's almost a better thing because it can target the cancer faster and better. So, and the way that they did the test for the Her2 genes was something called FISH, F-I-S-H, and it just meant that I have extra Her2 gene copies amplified. I think that's everything on. I am stage 3 with breast cancer, and I never knew how they really calculated that in the past. In my mind, it was how bad it was and how likely you were to die, which really amplified my stress at that appointment. But there's some simple math, it looks like, where it's what stage or what grade of the tumor goes into effect, like into this equation, and it's the size of the tumor. If it's any surrounding areas like your lymph nodes, and it becomes stage 4 if it's gone to other areas of your body. It says in the booklet that it has spread beyond the breast and nearby lymph nodes to other organs of the body, such as lungs, distant lymph nodes, or skin, bones, liver, or brain. So at this time, I have stage 3 because it is positive in my right lymph node and my right breast. Unfortunately, it could change because we have not completed the body scan and CT scan yet, and that will tell us if there's cancer in any other areas of my body. So, I think that's it for the breakdown. As I mentioned, I'll put this picture up. But as far as what's happening next, so she wanted me to get a breast MRI done specifically on the right side with something they call breast coil. So it'll really focus in on the area and provide better digital imaging. We're going to do the staging scan, CT and bone scan, to see if there is potentially cancer anywhere else in my body. We did the genetic testing that day in the office, and I was supposed to talk about the results today, but the lab wasn't finished processing them yet. And then we discussed fertility preservation in this appointment. Chris and I just got married last year, and I don't think we'd made a decision about family planning. So she said that preserving eggs or embryos would potentially be an option. And then she recommended a medical oncologist, Dr. Klein, and I'm actually meeting with her tomorrow. And we're going to get a port installed into my chest for chemo, and then they provided a referral for a breast cancer resource center. So that was a lot of information to take in. As far as the treatment plan goes, there was going to be a variety of medications like chemotherapy, pills. Eventually there will be surgery, and I'll be making a decision on a mastectomy or a lumpectomy, and then I will finish up with radiation. So, long journey ahead. I'm all in. Got my team of prayer warriors and loved ones and family all around me. So that's it for now. Hoping to check in. I was going to do another video about what I accomplished today. It's, I guess, week 3 of finding out that there was an issue, and a lot of appointments and things were scheduled today. So stay tuned.